Mike? Hey, the stock market's doing well today. In a related story, Congress is on its Thanksgiving break. Steve Buten is here.
Is there a connection?
I think there is.
Yeah, there usually is when that happens. They can't say anything that'll bring the markets down.
But all kidding aside, housing's doing a little bit better.
Yeah, we have some good news this morning. The housing data came out. Builder sentiment is up. The sales are up, which is always good, and they're coming up off of revised data. However, the one fly in the ointment is a lot of the sales are, quote, non-traditional, where they're cash buyers, short sales, and foreclosures. So as we see the market begin to turn, hopefully the banks will feel more comfortable and lend, because the market really won't be recovered until the traditional buyer who needs, a down payment plus a mortgage can get in and get financed at a reasonable rate.
Now, we're the epicenter for those non-traditional closures. Also, last week, as we heard, the foreclosures are back up to #2 in the nation.
Yeah.
Here locally, is there any end in sight to this, or?
No. The short answer is no. There's legislation that's been passed that has stymied the foreclosure process, slowed it up. And until those foreclosures come through, you don't have a true functioning market. So prices are up here in the valley, but really it's artificial because there's a constraint on supply. But until they loosen that up, the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
Okay. Bernanke's about to give a speech. And we're also hearing that there may be a change in the Fed.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Similar to President Obama, he is now term limited out. The talk on the street is that Chairman Ben Bernanke of the Fed may not seek another term in January of 2014. So we're about 14 months out. But now the talk is that the chairman is working on his legacy and wants to have the history books look favorably on him. So he's giving a speech this week, and we'll get some indication as to what he thinks the economy is doing. But also, he may telegraph what some of the policies might be going forward. As you know, the Fed has been very active the last few years. So we'll see if Bernanke wants to stay the course or maybe indicate a change.
And they've already indicated they're going to stay the course with the interest rates for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Consumer debt is starting to creep up there just in time for the holidays, when you would think you'd want to be down so you can now pile it on.
Yeah, and this is a double-edged sword. Clearly, folks, before you go holiday shopping, please don't get into too much debt. Consumer debt has gone up for the first time in about 5 years. It's going up quicker than the income. So clearly people are taking on more debt. Now that could mean a couple of things. Number one, it could mean that people are feeling more comfortable in their job stability, willing to take on some more debt. But number two, the downside could be when you get that bill in January, you get that little hangover. So just be careful when you take that debt on when you're going shopping.
Okay, let's go to the Twinkie trauma.
The Twinkie.
And we're talking about the actual economics of this.
Yeah.
Hostess goes bankrupt, says we're going to shut down, and Wonder Bread, Twinkies, Ding Dongs. Minor casualties when you compare it to the workforce. They're 18,000 people.
That's right, and that's the sad thing here is, and I guess it's an indication of what's going on in our society when you look at Congress too. The lack of willingness to compromise. The management and the labor teams here are just not being willing to sit at the table. So the company's saying, well, that's it. We're just going to shut down. Nobody wins if they shut down. 18,000 people are out of work. The one silver lining here, though, is there are some private companies who are lining up financing to come in and bid on these brands. I mean, the Twinkie brand is, fantastic. From what I've heard, I've never really had too many.
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread, yes.
Strong bodies, 12 ways.
Yeah, but hopefully the private companies can come in and save the brand at some point. The only problem is when you go into the court, you may get a verdict or you may get a ruling from the judge that doesn't benefit the company. The labor and the management may not like what the court says, and it could force the hand of the company. And the private equity firms that are coming in are not, necessarily sympathetic to the current parties. You don't want them to come in and just clean house and lay all these people off. So
exactly.
Hopefully they could, at the last minute, come to some sort of conclusion here. But to me, it's just a part and parcel of what's been going on in society, that there's all these conflicts and nobody's willing to sit down and talk them out and compromise. And you see what happens. It's the worst of all scenarios happens here.
And 200 people, up to 200 people here in Henderson.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Victims.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
Yes, everyone. Lisa?
All right.